YouTube, what's up? Something that everybody wanted me to talk about, this December 21st thing. The solstice, the whole solstice thing, and the science behind it. And as many of us already know, it's a transitional period. But before I get into it, I just wanted to, see a quick question for yourself, like, how do you define death anyway? Like, before you even get into the, oh, we're all gonna die, end of the world thing, what is death to you? Some people don't own the same concept as you as far as death goes. Like, if you ask someone like myself, I would tell you that death is the shedding of the old you. If you have bad ways about you, if you're into junk food, whatever you're into, whatever your fancy is, if you stop doing that and change yourself, or not yourself, change your life, what your physical vehicle is addicted to, or what have you. You change that for the better. The old you, the old chemical state you were in, the thoughts you were in, everything, all that is shed and dies. So that is the true death. It's transition. Transition is what we should be saying instead of death, because that's really what death is. Whether it's the physical, transitioning from the body that it is, going back to the soil, becoming rocks a million years from now, whatever, or coming back into transitioning into some type of vehicle or beast. So either way, it's a transition. Now, the same thing happens with the awareness or the consciousness, the will, what you really are. That transitions as well. Transition, just a trance, transcend. It's just basically going into a trance state. And when it comes to the awareness, it's just leaving from one vehicle to another, or just going into a state of being aware, just conscious of being conscious. And that's the germination stage of this existence. That's what God is. That's why there's this objective witness in everything that you do. Your conscience, you may call it. That's God. God is you. God is always ever present. When you've got rid of the clutter and all the BS thoughts, and you're just totally living with the self, with God, then in ancient Egypt they'll call you Osar. Well, you are God. That's what you identify with. The awareness, the consciousness, the will of God. That you've aligned yourself with that. So when it comes to the transition of 2012, like many know, it's from Pisces to Aquarius. It's just a transitioning stage. And it's not a total death, because nothing ever really dies, or nerd, nothing ever really dies. Not a total death of Pisces, but we're just shedding that skin for a little bit, and just trying to, like a hermit crab, just going into another phase of this existence, another kingdom, basically. So when it comes to the transition, what many of us should be doing, or all of us should be doing, we should all be judging ourselves. Because the self, the consciousness, whatever, that judges you. That's you. You judge yourself. If you say you haven't stolen, you've stolen, that your conscience will refute you. You can run from it all you want. The more you run from the conscience, the self, the less it resides in the vehicle. So like if somebody does something heinous and awful, they can't live with themselves. They can't live with the self or God. So they run from it. They drink or whatever they do to push the vehicle away from the self. So then you have an open vehicle that is used for whatever gets in it, whatever will or energy gets inside of that vehicle. The vehicle's open. It's like leaving a car with the door open and the keys in it in a not so good neighborhood. So that's people when they get into that pushing the self away from the body, they really get into bad circumstances. Well, the body does. The energy body, the star, gets into bad circumstances because it's not being led by God's will, by the self, which is God. So that's why judgment by the self needs to be done on a nightly basis, and on the solstice of each year. If you're it's the summer solstice for people below the equator, and the people above is the winter solstice, of course. But in that time, you should be preparing for the judgment. And some people might use the 10 Commandments, some people might use the 11 Laws of God from Kemet. Whatever you use, whatever you feel like, you know, there's your morals or your framework for right and wrong. If you need that, you don't need that. Some people don't, but some people use it as a crutch, whatever. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just saying, like, that it can help, or some people don't need it. Sometimes it might hurt some people. I don't know, but for me, I don't need that. I know the difference between right and wrong, and sometimes it helps if you have engaged in things that you know are wrong, to just write it down and then write why you did it. And then, if you can look at it back on a year, on these things that you've done, and you got to forgive, not the self, because the self isn't what did it. It's usually bodily desires that you give into. But you need to, just forgive that. Forgive the body for that, and move on and move forward, and get past that. Don't get stuck in the past, or it'll pass you. So, whether you need to find Knockout Netter, basically the revised Book of the Dead with more truth in it, Knockout Netter, Nukauneter. If you need that for the laws of God, and to chant that, whatever, that I have not stolen, basically the 10 Commandments before they were called the 10 Commandments and changed. If you need that as a guide, then so be it. Then you use that, then you can look it up on the internet. And then on the 21st, or all the way leading up to that, you gear up for that judgment. And then all the souls that have died after the last solstice till now, it's basically another, the judgment time for them as well, because the conscience will judge the deeds. And if what you have lived by is opinion and belief, then you don't get eternal damnation. You have to restart. And all that you've lived, it was a waste. You haven't truly learned anything. So since that's the case, it doesn't carry over into the next life anyway. So even if you don't die traumatically or whatever, you didn't learn anything, so it doesn't carry over. So if you truly learn truths and live by knowledge and the laws of the universe, then all that will be embedded in the energy body. And because the self already knows all of this, but the energy body, the human vehicle, whatever, when it returns, it will still be embedded in it. So just like a dog knows to eat certain things, or any animal knows to eat certain things because it knows it. It's not an opinion. So when it goes into the next life, it knows it, and there's nothing that can tell that this is wrong or whatever, what have you. There's no opinion about it. And that, that's really, what it comes down to with, transcending and knowing that you've been alive before. And this is not the first time, nor will it be the last. There's no beginning or ending to this thing. And that it's not about revolving and doing the same things, meeting the same people. It's about being that reference point. If you know yourself, and you live the extent you should live, which is in the hundreds of years, at least 140 years, you can be that reference point, because you meet everyone you're going to meet in 70 years. In 140 years, you have met everyone twice. So if you are that reminder, that reference point, and knowing yourself, and then you spread that, and it continues to spread, and then you bring everybody that you're bonded to up, then you can all transcend into a point where you can incarnate at will and live in nirvana, or Seket Hetepu, which is basically an eternal inner peace. And if something needs to be done in the physical, you can incarnate at will. And that is the natural state for the awareness, or God self, that you are. Because the body is just a temple. It houses God, or the awareness, the self. And it can't live in a dirty house, and it can't live in a house that doesn't abide by the rules or the laws of the house, because the house is the universe, because the body is you, he is me, and I am him, everything is everything, whatever you want to say. And whether it's the anthropologist or the Egyptologist being blatantly wrong or being blatantly racist, they failed when it comes to researching the Maya and the Egyptians. They were not polytheists. It's just a lot of metaphors and things they didn't understand, or they chose to interpret it that way to manipulate people down the ladder. So that's really all I want to say, man, as far as the transition in 2012. And I've been around the world. I was in Nepal, I was in Europe, I was in Africa. So it's, you know, Asia, Europe, and Africa, and I didn't see anything in the sky. And I was in some of the most clear skies in the world, and I didn't see anything. I was on telescopes and everything. You know, I've used all that to observe the stars out there. Shooting stars are like nothing out there in a lot of those places. So, you know, the sky is pure and beautiful in some of the places that I went. So I didn't see anything coming towards the planet, and anything that was supposed to hit us, if anything is supposed to hit us in those theories, we would have been able to see it for a while now. And, you know, you can check out 2012 Debunked if you want, or, you know, just use your own sense, man. Because even if we all were going to die anyway, that'd be the best way to go anyway. We're all going to go transition and be somewhere else. But most people just think it dies here. It's because they don't know themselves like they could. They haven't resurrected Osar or themselves to the fullest yet. And I'm not judging them. That's on them. But, you know, you have the judgments for the self. You judge yourself. God is you. And I love y'all.